Breaking tonight. The Labour Party is facing a full revolt and on the brink of imploding, as 56 of their MPs, including 10 frontbenchers, defied Keir Starmer's orders and backed an SNP motion calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. With the strictest three-line whip imposed on Labour MPs, those frontbenchers who voted to support a ceasefire now face being sacked, with several having already resigned this evening. So the frontbench rebels were Paula Barker, Rachel Hopkins, Afzal Khan, Sarah Owen, Jess Phillips, Yasmin Qureshi, Naz Shah and Andy Slaughter. There we go. Keir Starmer said that Israel had suffered its most awful terrorist attack in a single day at the hands of Hamas on the 7th of October. He added, at every stage during this crisis, my approach has been driven by the need to respond to both these tragedies. I regret that some colleagues felt unable to support the position tonight, but I wanted to be clear about where I stood and where I stand. Going head-to-head on this right now, I am joined by former Labour aide Stella Chantikido and GBNews' senior political commentator Nigel Nelson. Stella, thank you very, very much. Well, Rishi Sunak's bang in trouble. Sorry, Keir Starmer, easy for me to say, he's bang in trouble here now, isn't he? He's got to find a new shadow front bench, hasn't he?
Yes, he does. And I think he's going to struggle because I think that support for a ceasefire is spreading not just across the Labour Party, across the country and across the world. I think the MPs who stood down did the right thing. I think they're voting with their values, and I think this is very important for politicians. I think people are really tired of politicians saying one thing and really meaning another, and I think that we will see more and more people coming out in favour of ceasefire, and I'm really pleased and very proud, if I'm honest, of the MPs who did the right thing according to their own values. OK. Nigel,
I'll throw it over to you now. I mean, is the Labour Party exploding?
No. I mean, obviously, emotions are running high, just as they are in the country, and they're running high in the Labour Party. So what you've seen tonight is 10 frontbenchers quitting rather than vote against their conscience. For Keir Starmer, this is an issue of discipline, that he demands, just as Rishi Sunak would demand out of his ministers, collective responsibility. If they vote against the official line, then they can't stay in post. This time next year, Keir Starmer will probably be Prime Minister. This is the biggest test of whether or not he's got the credentials to lead the country.
And that's a concern. I was saying just a second ago that we're seeing stuff now taking place at the Cenotaph in London, and I believe I can bring to you, this is footage of police running towards the Cenotaph now, en masse there. They are obviously trying to guard it. There is footage that's also online which appears to show that people have been climbing near that and showing quite a lot of disrespect, and I believe that we're going to be showing that to you very, very shortly. We are going to be showing that to you very, very shortly. That awful thing that we were told was never going to happen, well, it's happening. And that comes straight off the back of what I brought to you earlier on from in amongst some of these marches as well. Stella, I put it to you that people in the Labour Party right now, the party that could well be in government in a year or so's time, support this kind of stuff.
No, they don't. This is a matter of domestic policy, what you're showing me right there, Patrick. The marches have to do with domestic policy, and the police has to do with domestic policy. The MPs that rebelled against the three-line whip tonight are rebelling against the foreign policy of the Labour Party, which in my opinion is going the wrong direction right now. The reason why it's going the wrong direction is because you have the continuous support of a military operation that has aims that are not going to be achieved. These objectives are not achievable, and the situation is only going to get worse because Gaza is going to be destroyed even further. You have a population where 40% of the male population is unemployed. They're just sitting around watching their women in Gaza,
under
yes.
Hamas.
Yes,
who've
under
been given
Hamas.
Billions in aid, and their leaders live in Qatar. Billions
in aid in Gaza. Yes, well, Gaza, at the moment, there is a blockade in Gaza, so you can imagine the economy is struggling to flourish, and these people, they are not allowed to move, they are not allowed to leave Gaza. Anyway, the point I wanted to make about the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it is very bad foreign policy and we have seen this in previous international conflicts, to expect to solve a political problem through military aims.
But the point is, Nigel, and this is why I do think that Keir Starmer is banging trouble over this, because every single time that an Israel issue raises its head, which is, let's be honest, once every couple of years, or this is an extreme example, he's going to be forced in this position. How is he going to find 10 people now in his party willing to fill those front bench positions? They're going to be seen as traitors by people at the grassroots of the Labour Party. I mean, he could be out on his backside here.
Well, I don't think so. I mean, you're talking about 10 people. There are about 200 Labour MPs, and he's likely to have an awful lot more after the next election. So there won't be a problem about filling the positions. Yes, it's sad that people like Jess Phillips, Dan Carden, Nasrul Khan have felt that they couldn't support the leadership. But that is their choice. It's a matter of conscience. That's what they decided to do. But I think that Stella's absolutely right. We're talking here about foreign policy. We're talking about an international crisis. We're not talking about what Labour will be like when it comes to governing this country.
Stella, who do you think the vast majority of the people climbing all over the Senate staff are going to vote for in the next election?
I actually don't know. I don't think that people who climb over that cenotaph are going to vote. They don't strike me as the kind who are going to wake up and go to the voting booth. So I don't think I'm not very worried about who they would vote. If anything, if I'm perfectly honest with you, I don't think these kind of people are the average Labour Party voter either. I do not understand why the two have to be conflated. I mean, the Labour Party right now, and I say this as someone who doesn't approve of the Labour Party's current foreign policy, the Labour Party position right now is extremely right-wing, if anything. So I'm not sure why there would be any connection whatsoever with the mobs that we are seeing and the Labour Party.
Maybe it's because the leader of the Labour Party at the moment tried to get a man elected twice. He refused to condemn Hamas 15 times on national television the other day. I mean, that might have something to do with it, to be fair, Stella. Nigel, I'll just throw it over to you right now. When we look at the state that the Labour Party's in, I mean, how does Keir Starmer just come out of this? Because he's got MPs sitting in communities with a Muslim majority vote, OK, which I think is more of the reason why people like Jess Phillips have gone than... She will dispute this, by the way. More of a reason why people like Jess Phillips have gone than a deep-seated sense of conviction. It's a votes game, it's a numbers game, and that's a problem for Labour, Nigel.
Well, I mean, whether or not it's to do with their Muslim vote, I don't know. I mean, you'd have to ask the MPs who decided to quit themselves whether that had anything to do with it. It's quite true that a lot of them come from areas where the Muslim vote is really important. So obviously MPs take that on board. I mean, these people are their constituents, and they have to take their opinions into account. Why they quit tonight? I mean, I think it was probably a conscience issue. It's unfortunate that they've gone, but Keir Starmer has got to be able to enforce party discipline. That's really important.
Well, both of you, thank you very, very much. I've thoroughly enjoyed that. That was Stella Chantikido and Nigel Nelson. Thank you very, very much for that.